Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and we've been talking a lot about Jamie Lynn Spears' book, Things I Should Have Said. She's asking everyone out there to use their voice. Well, I'm so excited because we have an exclusive interview with a very special guest who I want to introduce right now, Ashley Aldridge Haverford. Welcome here to the show. Ashley, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Ashley, Jamie Lynn's out there with her new book talking about everybody speaking the truth. And you have a truth you want to share. As someone who was reading her book, she talks a lot about Casey Aldridge, who is your brother, correct?
Right.
The reason we got connected is because you put this out on Facebook. You said, oh, Jamie Lynn Spears wants us all to stand up and use our voices, huh? That is why you wrote the book, right, Jamie Lynn? Well, good. I got a lot of truth to tell about you, too, Miss Perfect. Get your PR team ready, little sheltered, spoiled, because I'm stepping in now, and the lies are going to come to the light quick. First of all, wow, did that feel good to write, Ashley, to finally get that out of your system?
It feels so good. I've been waiting for so long.
Casey is the father of Maddie, which was Jamie Lynn's first child when she was teen mom. And Casey was the father in that instance. And in the book, as I read it, she doesn't speak very fondly of Casey. There's a few moments where she tries to sort of seem like she's doing the right thing, but she paints Casey as this, a substance abusing, never around, philandering person. And she's always struggling with what to do, yada, yada, yada. Did you read parts of this book? Do you feel like she's being unfair to your brother?
Oh, yeah. I definitely feel like she's being unfair. She acts like Casey just disappeared and abandoned Maddie, and that is not what happened. Actually, what happened was she made him get out of Maddie's life. I mean, she wouldn't answer the phone. She wouldn't let Casey see Maddie. And then she also did the same thing for us. So he did not abandon her, but that's what she is writing in her book. That's one of the lies.
Look, this is a tough conversation because when kids are involved and divorces and all, I hate to get involved in this, but I've spoken to Ashley and I've heard this story. I wanted to make sure she shared it with you, and I'm really grateful she is sharing it because I think it's important. Just because someone has history with substance abuse, that doesn't mean they shouldn't have any opportunity to be there as a father. And I think it's important because I know you're very open to it all too. You're not afraid of talking about Casey's life. It's important also to remember just how young they were when all this went down, right? They were very young kids. She got pregnant at 15. He was young himself, and they didn't really know a lot of what they were doing. They weren't prepared for this. And so, he was a father. They were out. Was he a good father in your eyes? Did he like being a father?
Oh, yes, he really is. He's a great father, and he's a great uncle.
So she speaks actually pretty fondly of him, what she gets into is more of his issues with addiction and which we'll get to, but also his cheating. Now she says, we finally confirmed it, but he denies it, right? You're telling me he never cheated on her. Here he is in OK Magazine. I'm no cheater. Was he a cheater? Was he sleeping around in Louisiana with other women?
No, that was absolutely false. He was not a cheater. He was not cheating on Jamie Lynn. It's really funny that she even put that in the book because the opposite was actually true, where she was cheating on Casey while she was pregnant.
Wait. So she was the one sleeping around behind Casey because in the book, which I've read, she's all prim and proper. I didn't know about boys. I blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. She knew about boys.
Yeah. She knew about boys.
How do you know? Could that be BS? Who is this? There's someone reliable, credible that who can confirm that he had an affair with Jamie Lynn Spears?
Yeah, it is. It's actually someone that I've known for a long time. I only found out for 100% fact that about 4 years ago that this was true. But I had heard rumors, forever. But yeah, I did find out for sure, and definitely a credible source. Definitely disappointing to hear, but that happened. So.
Wow. Well, there you go. The tea is being spilled. The reveal. I'm sure Jamie Lynn's going to love this interview, Ashley. So you're getting what you want, because this is going to, I can't imagine she wants to be out there having that sort of stuff out there, but you're bringing the truth. So that's what happens. So as we go through the timeline here of Jamie Lynn, she moves out. She talks in the book about Casey having an accident. Stuff, dealing with pills and things that substances he's getting addicted to. She doesn't shy from that, and that's something he did have a problem with. But she's sort of there and doesn't want to. She makes a weird point, Ashley, where she's like, "I didn't want the press to label me as someone leaving my, husband who's been through an accident." She's always thinking about what the press is going to say about her. Is that something you noticed too? Like, she was more worried about what everyone thinks versus what the right thing is?
Oh yeah, definitely. She's very narcissistic. She's very worried about her appearance and goes with whatever is going to make her look the best. So I thought that was very cold-hearted too. That whenever I read that, I was like, wow. I really thought while she was staying in the hospital with my brother, and I apparently fake crying and stuff like that. That she was upset about the accident. I really thought that she was genuine, but apparently she was just acting, and she really just felt obligated to be there, which that is disgusting and pathetic, but good to know Jamie Lynn.
Yeah, Jamie Lynn does that a lot throughout the book, where she'll reveal things that she doesn't understand is actually revealing like the really awful sides of her. She's like a walking contradiction.
Apparently not.
she doesn't know about the conservatorship, but then she does. She never makes much sense. She's a very weird person. But so yeah, you can attest that not the best person, always out for herself. Britney labeled her a selfish little brat. Is that something you would use as well?
Yeah, she's definitely a selfish little brat. She likes to get her way, and if she doesn't get her way, she gets very, very angry.
I want to make sure I do address, the issue and play devil's advocate here, Ashley, because I know you're open for it. But while they did show up, and Jamie talks about this in the book, all of them did unite when Maddie had a terrible accident. Maddie's father did show up. Jamie, her new husband, was there, and everyone was praying. This was a pretty terrible story. She was 8 years old, had an ATV accident, even though I don't know why. She was kind of young to be riding that ATV, if you ask me, Ashley. Is that something that happens out there in the South? Would you have 8-year-olds on ATVs like that?
You see it, but it's not safe. Like, I have an 8-year-old right now, and he's not allowed to get on one of those. It has to be the actual, the four-wheeler or side-by-side that's his size. She should have never been on that.
So she does that. Thank God Maddie's okay, and I don't want to keep judging and hammering that. It's a heartbreaking chapter, and I do feel for them and all that went through. It's a real scare. I'd be remiss to not talk about, obviously, Casey's issues with drugs, etc. This is something he struggled with for a long time. I don't want to ignore this, but do you feel like this was really putting Maddie at jeopardy? Did he ever, to your knowledge, can you verify, like, was this usage and problems he was having ever, taking it out on Maddie, where Maddie could be in danger?
No, never. And that's why I don't understand why Jamie Lynn refuses to let Casey or any of Casey's family see Maddie, because Maddie has never been in danger here or around us, and she's never been anything but loved. So it makes no sense.
He's had two run-ins, just to be fully, put it all out there. One in 2019 for a possession, and then there was another incident with counts of burglary. Nothing that puts like endangerment or it wasn't even like he was hitting people. Clearly issues that one would have with substance abuse or looking for more. Clearly something he's struggling with and needed help. Obviously, he needed some help. Is that fair to say? He had addiction. He had substance abuse problems. Was he trying to get help? Did Jamie Lynn ever try to help him get help?
Jamie Lynn never participated in Casey getting help. Casey was trying to get help. I mean, he has definitely gotten help, but at the time he was trying to get help when they were together, and she never participated, even whenever asked by the counselors at the rehab facility, you know, they told her it would be good if you would come, you know, and learn more about it and learn how, you know, this works and counsel together. She refused to be any part of his recovery process. And not only that, but every time that he would try to go somewhere to get help, she would actually have him served with papers. She had papers, court documents delivered to him while he was in rehab and once at the hospital. And so she's just very calculating. And whenever Casey was vulnerable and needed her most, she refused, you know, to be there while they were together. And then whenever they weren't together, she would literally try to mess with him more by waiting until he went to a rehab or something to literally send court documents. He got his adoption documents whenever he was in a rehab facility, and she sent them there.
Yeah, I don't want to gloss over these calculated moves because I think it's important. So, all right, so we've addressed the substance abuse. For some parents, that would have a problem. Obviously, that can cause drama with kids. I don't want to like sugarcoat that, you know, ignore that rather. But the reality is, he wasn't looking for full-time custody. So after that ATV accident, it took years before he could see her again. Correct? Can you walk us through like how has he seen her? How has he attempted to see her? Have they avoided his opportunities, you know, attempts to see her? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, at first it was just every now and then Jamie Lynn would pick up the phone and and we could do certain things, like we could go to her little fair at her school, or I'm trying to think, just we went like to a museum one time. Like we could go take her and do things at first, but then she stopped answering the phone and she stopped returning. I mean, she stopped, you know, all of this communication, and then she wouldn't answer the door. My brother went to the house just to check on Maddie because he couldn't get anybody on the phone, and Jamie Lynn would never answer the door.
Was he going through bouts of like anything that were problematic at that point, or was he sort of sobering up and not even really causing any trouble at that point? Was there a reason? Like, could there be a justified reason of, oh, he's a mess, I don't want you near Maddie right now?
No, he was actually doing really well at that time.
So he's sobered up, he's doing well, he's trying to get a hold of her, and they're just ignoring him.
Right.
So what was the last time has he seen her since then? How did that happen? What happened?
Well, the last time he actually saw her was he found out that she had a basketball game through someone else. Someone had told him about it, and he showed up to her basketball game 2 years ago. And she was so excited. She was like thrilled to see him. And she literally ran up to him like they never even missed a beat, even though it had been a while then since he had seen her. But the last time was 2 years ago, and ever since then, he hasn't seen her, or talked to her.
So he hasn't seen or talked to her in 2 years since that game. Did Jamie Lynn? What was her reaction at that game? Was she like nice at least that Casey was there?
Oh no, she was very angry that Casey was there. I mean, you could tell that she was very, very aggravated. I mean, she literally looked at us like she just hated, like she just had hatred in her eyes, you know.
You were there. There too. Just so I'm clear, you saw this with your own eyes.
Yeah, and she literally, but she would always do that. She would always have that look in her eyes whenever we would show up. It was like she just did not want any of us to be around, no matter where we were, whether it was a game or a recital or whatever. It was just always like, oh, they're here, you know.
I mean, that bothers me. Look, even if he had issues, if he's working his way up and wants to be there, you shouldn't not let the kid's father be in the life. Like, that's just seemed, for me, in my opinion, I don't know, chat, you tell me down below in the comments, it just seems so weird and scary and mean to Maddie to sort of do that. Do you feel like they were trying to, what do you think they were telling Matt? I mean, I know in the book, there's a whole, and I wanted to get to that next, there's a whole section in the book about how they, got the name. Like, they took Aldridge away from her, and they say that Maddie was the one who requested it. Before even that happened, there was a whole instance where they got full custody, right? And they were, I guess to paraphrase a little bit, they knew there was substance abuse issues, but he had a job at the time that paid him pretty well, right? And they sort of used that at the time because he was making money at the moment. The way custody works, as I've been through divorce, you're sort of judged by the court as to what you make at the time. Mm-hmm. So they sort of acknowledge, Jamie and her team sort of knew, okay, he's making some money. They forced him to pay a payment after that he couldn't afford because he didn't have that job any further. And then that's sort of how they used that to get full custody, correct?
Right. Yeah. So basically what they did was they used the excuse of back child support. But the reason why he owed so much child support is because, like you said, they go off your previous tax return to tell you how much you're going to pay for child support. And he made a lot more that year at the job that he had that year. But whenever he took a pay cut, that needed to be changed. And they just kept putting it off. And so anyway, he got behind on it. And what eventually ended up happening was they said, okay, well, you're either going to go to jail for not paying your child support, or you're going to sign over your rights. And it took him a while, and he didn't want to do it, but he didn't feel like he had a choice at that point. He tried to come up with the money before he signed and tried to do everything he could, but
man, so they were used. So, I mean, clearly Spears have all this access to lawyers' money, and so they sort of, do you feel like that was all a calculated decision to sort of let that add up and give him that ultimatum that he had no other choice at?
Yeah, for sure. And what's really funny to me, or not funny, but what really makes me the most angry about it now is the fact that they basically backed him into a wall to sign his rights over due to him not paying them the money that they wanted, right? Okay, but the whole time, Jamie Lynn and her husband and basically the whole family is stealing money from Britney, but my brother has to sign his rights over for not paying them child support. It's just like, it's messed up. Like, it's not fair. It's not right.
Well, it's even more hypocritical because Jamie Lynn's father has abuse problems, right? Like, between substances and facts that he has restraining orders against his own grandkids. Lynn, in her book, Through the Storm, BJ was telling me about this. Lynn was writing in her own book sort of the parallels between Casey and Jamie and how they'd leave for bouts of time and they both had their issues. It's really odd to me, and I'm curious your thoughts. Jamie Lynn seems to, while she's had her up and downs with her father, it seems like she has no real issue with Big Jamie being around Maddie, but for some reason now Casey can't be there. Does that bother you?
Oh yeah, that bothers me. That's 100% hypocritical. I mean, it makes no sense at all. No sense whatsoever. I would love to hear her reason and her excuse for that.
Yeah, I would too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but another thing I wanted to get to is the fact they call him Casper in the book. Is that a name, like a legal name or something? Do you know why they're calling him Casper instead of Casey in the book?
No. That has, he's never, ever been called Casper. That's not a nickname. As soon as we saw that, we were like, what? Like, where did that come from? Literally. But I personally think that it was a dig on Casey. Like, I think that, she's calling him Casper. She's saying, like, he's a ghost to them. That's just my theory. But just knowing Jamie Lynn and how her mind is, I think that's why she did that.
Wow, that's that'd be almost too intelligent and literary for Jamie Lynn, in my opinion. But hey, it could be also. It's a cartoon character. That's something she knows. But so they call him Casper in the book. Okay, but I wanted to talk about this because when I read the book, I was dying to trying to figure out more here because all right, so they've already guys got to keep this in mind. They've already gotten the rights to sort of have full custody, but now Maddie wants to change her last name to Watson. Watson being the last name of Jamie Watson, Jamie Lynn's new husband. Maddie was 9 at the time, and Casper had succumbed to using, according to Jamie Lynn, and Maddie's determination bordered on demand. We explained she didn't understand the lengthy process of adoption and that changing her name meant that she would give up the name Aldridge for the rest of her life, but she insisted she did, in fact, understand and was important to her that she share our name. Casper wasn't having visitations with her anymore. Was that intentional? Did Casper want visitations at that point?
That was because he could not get a hold of her.
So he's trying, so according to you, he's trying to get visitation, and instead they're like, no, we're going to, oh, by the way, Casper, we want to change it in. His run-ins with the law continued. I knew things had to change. I spent months contemplating what was best for Maddie and everyone else, including Casper's parents. It doesn't seem like she cares at all about your parents or anybody in your family. Yeah. She desperately wanted for Maddie to have a relationship with them, but the rift between father and daughter made a connection with her biological grandparents difficult. So she's saying there's a rift between Casey and Maddie. Was there ever a rift between the two of them, to your knowledge?
Absolutely not. Not like literally nothing. There's nothing to even elaborate on. That's just a lie. That's a whole lie.
She goes on to say, I wanted to do the right thing, but most importantly, Maddie's well-being had to be considered above all else. I shared my deepest fears with Jamie, how I hated playing God and making such a profound decision that would affect Maddie forever. Jamie had always been supportive of Casper's remaining Maddie's father in name and deed, and stood by as Casper slowly disappeared from her life. So what do you think about this sort of story she's telling?
Didn't she say that that Jamie said that Casey was trash, but now she's saying that he had always been supportive of. You are correct. Yes, it doesn't make sense. She can't keep up with her own lies.
I just pulled it up. Good call. I forgot, but yes, you remember. Here's Jamie, who wants Maddie to have him in her life. Do you realize the mistake you're making for yourself and Maddie when she was going to get back with him? He's trash. He's proved it time and again. He's not reliable. Being with him is just bad. He's trash, and you being with him makes you trash. It makes me question everything I know about you. Thank you for reminding me, because yes, the walking contradiction that is Jamie Lynn Spears shows no bounds. So you're right. So she's again another example, guys. But do you to answer the question though? Was he trying to get out of her life? Was he slowly disappearing from Maddie's life at that point?
No, he was not. He was trying to do everything that he could. He was literally calling constantly. We were calling, we were texting, we were trying to get a hold of Jamie Lynn to figure out when we could see her again. If she didn't want to, let her come out here, then we'll meet her, like we had before, literally going above and beyond to figure out what was going on. Casey even ended up going, like I told you earlier, to the house because he wanted to make sure that, he at least wanted to lay eyes on her and make sure that she was okay.
And they just didn't even answer the door.
Yeah, they wouldn't answer the door.
And then the other question I wanted to ask you, as they're saying here, do you believe it was Maddie that really wanted to change her name? Could a 9-year-old really be ready to do that and process that unless she's being fed a bunch of really negative stuff about her dad? What do you think there? Was that Maddie's decision, or do you think she was being fed a bunch of lies from Jamie Lynn to sort of push her in that direction?
I definitely think that that she was being fed, because Maddie, that doesn't sound like Maddie at all. That doesn't sound like it's something that Maddie would do. I mean, like you said, 9-year-old is not really concerned about that type of stuff anyway. But even if she was, I do know that Maddie felt pressure from them to change her name to Watson, and so she asked them, "Could I change my name to could I have both last names?" She wanted to know, could she have Aldridge and Watson, and they told her no, that she could have no, she could change it to Watson, but she couldn't have both.
Oh.
So I guess that she just felt pressured. Most likely, just felt her mom probably gave her a guilt trip about it, so she was probably just like, okay, fine, that's probably what happened.
I mean, I'm grateful you're sharing this story, because look, I'm not there. I hate to try and get involved, especially when kids are there, but it's just important that Maddie at least know that her dad's out there and wasn't abandoning her, right? I mean, to me, that's
Right.
when you were sharing the story, and it made me want to inspire you to tell it, because I think you and Casey do need to try and tell this. So at some point when Maddie's old enough to sort of stop listening to her mom's story, her truth, she can attempt to go find her own, story here and figure out what really was going on, because there are really two sides to these stories. If you had a chance to speak to Maddie right now, if she's hearing this at some point later, and she very well could, and sorry, Maddie, I wasn't trying to create drama for you or anything else, but I want to make sure you have the truth. What would you say from your family, and what would you want to say to her as she's looking into this?
I would want to say, Maddie, your daddy did not disappear. He did not abandon you. And I want to tell you that he's still waiting on you, and that we're all still here. We all still love you. Mimi and Papa are waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. Carter, Callie Joy, and Skylar misses you so much. We all do. I can't imagine what you've been through. But I just need you to know that none of this is your fault. And no matter what it is or when it is, just know that we are always here for you, no matter what you need. And that's what I need her to know, is nobody has abandoned her, and we are still here just waiting and praying that things will change.
Oh, it's just heartbreaking, especially as you see the photos. I mean, and Skylar, you brought that up. Skylar's her sister, right? That's from Casey's other marriage.
Yeah.
And Skylar hasn't been able to see her sister, correct?
Right. And Skylar really grieves that. And Skylar, it makes Skylar think that something is wrong with her, because she thinks that she has done something, or that maybe she's not good enough for her sister. Basically, is she'll ask, like, well, why doesn't she want to see me? Does she not like me? And so she's just very she prays every night to see her sister. So it's hard for a 7-year-old, for sure.
I can't even imagine. Well, there's so much more I want to talk to you about, and there's so much more we need to get into. I do just want to reiterate, look, it sounds like, Casey's had his troubles, right? He's gone through there. I don't want to ignore this. I don't want to deny this, and I'm glad you spoke about this. But these troubles, even according to Jamie in her own book, weren't ever putting Maddie at risk. And according to you and what you're telling me, he wants to be there in her life. It really bothers me that this is getting in the way, where you're not asking for full visitation. You're not asking for anything crazy. Supervised visits, even he would take, I imagine. You just want something to have some sort of relationship in Maddie's life. I mean, what would you say to Jamie Lynn, if you could right now, to sort of try to get that for Casey?
I would just say, you have no idea how much, or maybe she does. How much hurt she has caused. And really, at the end of the day, if she cares about Maddie at all, if she really loves Maddie and wants what is best for Maddie, then she would not be making this child believe that her father is nothing but a piece of crap with problems, because whenever you do that to children, they think something's wrong with them too. And she is hurting Maddie worse than she's hurting anybody. That's what Jamie Lynn really needs to know. She needs to wake the hell up, and she needs to apologize for what she's done, and she needs to start really thinking about what's best for her kids.
Well, look, I appreciate you sharing the truth here, Ashley, and I think you're going to get a lot of people angry to hear that Jamie Lynn has done this. And again, I don't want to get involved in this with Maddie, but I'm glad we at least have something that when she's old enough to look this up, she can have it. So I applaud you coming out here.
Me too. Thank you so much.
That was the goal here. I don't want. She's still a minor, guys. I don't want to leave her alone. Please be nice. But this just broke my heart as a father. And I hope kids at some point will Google and look up what they need to know. And I think you gave a very heartfelt, perspective from the other side. And I hope Casey is able to give that too at some point. Guys, there's so much more I need to ask Ashley about this. I need to talk about Miss Lou Taylor. We got some more stuff about Jamie, about Lynn, about all of it. What was going on with Britney at the time. We're going to get to a lot more details with Ashley next. So make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts. You will not want to miss part 2. Leave your comments down below. What do you think about this down there as well? And Ashley, again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Stay tuned for part 2 coming up.